Hey everyone, welcome to The Spot. I'm Asa Rehman. In this video, I will talk about the top fantasy players in each fixture, then reveal my Waiver 11 for Gameweek 26. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It is the spot for fantasy footballers, especially those in fantasy draft leagues. Now I'll be highlighting some of the top fantasy players from each fixture in this video, and I'll be using their 4-game average instead of the FPL's 30-day form rating, which I believe can be inconsistent from player to player depending on how many times their team played in those 30 days. So I'll be looking at their most recent 4 games. That's the number that you will see in the graphics. And there's a lot to digest here with 17 games in the double game week, so let's dive right in. We will start with the bells of the ball, wearing that Cinderella blue, Man City hosting West Ham, and some people are wondering if the clock is about to strike midnight on my man Ilkay Gundogan. I don't see it happening though. Go ahead and mark this man as essential. He's second on City for total points, just 2 behind Raheem Sterling. The forward has 128 points total and is averaging 5.75 in his last 4. As for the Hammers, Jesse Lingard has been consistent since joining the club. 15, 3, 6, and 10 are his fantasy point totals in his first 4 games with West Ham. Meanwhile, Aaron Cresswell has the most fantasy points of all defenders this season, and that's why he's essentially matchup proof. He has 9 assists so far this season. West Brom hosting Brighton, and I'll focus on the back end for the Baggies. Keeper Sam Johnstone is coming off just his 3rd clean sheet of the season, and defender Kyle Bartley has 2 goals and an assist this campaign, with a chance to earn his 3rd clean sheet because Brighton have not scored more than a goal in 8 straight matches. Defender Lewis Dunk is among the top scorers on the club with 3 goals this season, and Leandro Trossard has become their best playmaker with 2 goals and 3 assists. Now to Leeds and Aston Villa. This is the only game for Leeds this week, but Rafinha has been so good in fantasy that he'd be one of the top players to consider with just a single match. Patrick Bamford now has 13 goals this season, and at that forward position, which can be really thin in draft leagues, especially deeper ones, he's worth consideration to play this week as well. On the other side, Ollie Watkins hasn't scored in a couple games, but he does have 10 total goals. Bertrand Traore has sprinkled in some productive fantasy performances as well, but it's too inconsistent for me, and he's usually one of the first players to come off as a sub for Aston Villa, so that's something worth considering as well. Now to Newcastle and Wolves. Miguel Almiron has been up and down so far this year, and there are just too many 1s and 2s when you look at his body of work this season when it comes to fantasy points. And St Maximin makes the most of his limited playing time so far this year. He's coming off a goal in just 76 minutes against Manchester United. For Wolves, Ruben Neves is averaging 6.25 in his club's 4-match unbeaten run, in which they've won 3 games, and striker Willian Jose has played a major role in their success, though he hasn't scored yet with his new club. Moving to Sunday's sked, Crystal Palace and Fulham. Eberechi Eze has 3 goals and 4 assists this season. The team finally scored without Wilfried Zaha being available. Jean-Philippe Mateta bearing a clever back heel for his first EPL goal. And for Fulham, they've earned 2 clean sheets in their last 3, and Ola Aina is averaging 7 points in his last 4. New forward Josh Maja might be the magician to make it all work in Fulham. The club is undefeated since he joined the team. Let's look at Leicester City and Arsenal now. Harvey Barnes is one of the hottest fantasy players in the game. He scored 12 and 13 points in the last 2 matches. Jamie Vardy has 12 goals this season, 5 more than Arsenal's Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. I still think Aubameyang can potentially have a strong finish to the season, and Bukayo Saka is the next best attacking fantasy option for the team. He usually plays 90 minutes and has 4 goals and 4 assists since game week 14. Now to Tottenham and Burnley. I usually have Son and Kane to headline my Spurs section. Son is fine and is a must start in draft leagues, but I'm personally hoping for more minutes and more production from Gareth Bale. I think he looks great when he gets on the field, and I'm not buying the whole injury talk anymore. I'm thinking of starting a hashtag free Bale movement. Free Bale, free Bale, free. It'll catch on. And for Burnley, Nick Pope has 9 clean sheets. Dwight McNeil has 3 assists. Hashtag free Bale. Chelsea with a chance to get within 3 points of Manchester United with a win on Sunday. Jorginho is averaging 6.25 points in his last 4 matches, boosted by goals from the spot, of course. But it was Mason Mount converting a penalty against Southampton last week. Meanwhile, United's Bruno Fernandes is creating some separation at the top of the fantasy point standings, 190 so far this season, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka is averaging 6.25 in his last 4. Sheffield United and Liverpool. Let's look at Sheffield's forward, starting with Billy Sharp. Yep, now I have that in your head for the rest of the day. He has 3 goals this season, and Ollie McBurney might even have an opportunity to score against Liverpool, who have allowed 10 goals in their last 4 matches. But let's not kid ourselves with this matchup. Forwards Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane should have an opportunity to score some serious fantasy points in this game. Everton hosting Southampton. Striker Dominic Calvert-Lewin is my favorite fantasy striker this season. 13 goals and 6 assists. In 20 starts, he's scored fewer than 3 points just 6 times. Amazing stat. James Rodriguez has been good, but hasn't played more than 70 minutes in 5 straight. Southampton's Takumi Minamino has 2 goals in 4 games with the club. James Ward-Prowse comes through with a wonder goal every few games, but I don't think it's happening this week. Man City's second match is against Wolves. Riyad Mahrez is someone that I anticipate will continue to produce for City. He's already had some decent weeks, and I don't think he's slowing down. Not yet, anyway. Defender Joao Cancelo is averaging 3.75 points in City's last 4 games. For Wolves, defender Nelson Cemeto is in his best form of the season so far, scoring 7, 5, and 7 points in the last 3 matches. He could be a decent play for the double game week, and Pedro Neto has 5 goals and 6 assists this season. As for Burnley and Leicester City, Matthew Lowton is part of a Burnley backline that has conceded just 2 goals in the last 4 matches, and Jay Rodriguez has a goal and 2 assists in the last 3 games. Leicester keeper Kasper Schmeichel would be a good get for the double game week, and Johnny Evans sounds like a Street Fighter character, really. He's averaging 4 points in his last 4. Sheffield United's second match of the game week is against Aston Villa. Jayden Bogle is averaging 2.75 fantasy points, and John Fleck's fantasy production has dipped. He's down to 1.25. Aston Villa keeper Emiliano Martinez has had a great fantasy season with 12 clean sheets. Matt Targett is the best fantasy defender on the team. I grabbed him off waivers in my league a few months ago, and he's really pulled through for me. Crystal Palace hosting Manchester United. Palace midfielder Jero Riedewald is averaging 4 points in his last 4 matches, and for Christian Benteke, scored a late winner against Brighton. As for United, Marcus Rashford is coming off a 12-point performance, and Luke Shaw is averaging 5 points in his last 4. Now to West Brom and Everton. The Baggies attack goes through Mbaye Diagne and Mateus Pereira. If you watch my other video I made this week, you'll know that I'm expecting both of these players to break out. I'm hoping it'll happen this week. And for Everton, Richarlison has scored in back-to-back games, and Lucas Digne would be a good player to pick up if possible, with some really favorable fixtures for Everton coming up. And now to Liverpool and Chelsea. Roberto Firmino has struggled like the rest of his Liverpool teammates this season, including Trent Alexander-Arnold. The defender is averaging just a single point in his last 4. Meanwhile, Chelsea's attacking players are starting to produce. Timo Werner is now averaging 5.75, and Olivier Giroud scored another amazing goal to add to his already impressive highlight reel, a midweek bike against Atletico Madrid. And finally, Fulham hosting Tottenham. Tosin Adarabioyo is part of the Fulham backline that has earned 3 clean sheets in the last 4, and Ademola Lookman is coming off an 11-point outing. Tottenham's Lucas Mora has played a full 90 in 2 of his last 3, and Harry Kane has 13 goals and 11 assists, leading all forwards for fantasy points this season. Okay, we'll soon find out if any of these players made it into this week's Waiver 11. Now, in the previous Game Week preview show, I mentioned a little giveaway. Only one person submitted their team into the comments. It was Joe Kula, longtime subscriber of the channel, so he wins the book. And I might have to do this once again. I have a good feeling that he would have beaten my Waiver 11 team. I don't know exactly how he did, but he had Rafinha on his team, so it's a good chance he beat my Waiver 11 side. Anyway, let's see who made the team this week. Before we get to this week's team, let's look back at how the Game Week 25 Waiver 11 group did. Another strong defensive showing, and it proves the defenders can be streamed. The midfield was led by Adama Traore's assist on the credited own goal. Such a weird rule. The own goal stat can completely go for me. Just give the attacking player credit. Overall, the team accumulated a respectable 39 points, which would have beaten 4 teams from that league. And a reminder that these teams are comprised of players that are on waivers, essentially unattached to clubs in one of my draft leagues. Now to this week's 11. Keeper Aaron Ramsdale retains his spot, edging out Carl Darlow, primarily because Ramsdale has the double game week. And for the back line, we begin with Joachim Andersen. He's recorded at least 6 fantasy points in 4 straight games. Victor Lindelof takes the next spot. The United vendor has 6 clean sheets this season and has a promising second fixture against Crystal Palace. Next is Rhys James, and it's worth mentioning here that Chelsea's Kurt Zouma and Ben Chilwell are also available on waivers in this league. 2 players that were highly sought after earlier this season. Crazy how fantasy works out. I'm hoping that James sees the most playing time of that group. And Matthew Lowton rounds out the defensive group. The Burnley defender earned 2 clean sheets in the last 3 matches. Through the mid now, John McGinn gets selected to the 11 for the first time. He just picked up his 6th assist of the season. Gylfi Sigurdsson gets into the starting 11. He was on the bench last week. Everton is home to Southampton and away to West Brom this game week. Adama Traore worked so well the first time. We'll try it again. He's a big part of their attacking plan at Wolves, so we'll see if he can gain some confidence from the productive week. And another newcomer to the 11, Lucas Mora, has a goal and an assist in his last 3 EPL matches for Tottenham. Up top, I'm going with Jay Rodriguez of Burnley again, along with Billy Sharp of Sheffield United. On the bench, it's Darlow in goal, then Miguel Almiron, Kyle Bartley, and Christian Benteke. All right, that's it for this show. Now, I did make another video earlier this week. I do hope you check it out, where I compare 2 players in a little segment I call Would You Rather. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below, or hit me up on Twitter at TheSpot4FF. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like. Thanks so much for hanging out at The Spot.